I'm Danny, that witch next door, and you're listening to That Witch Podcast. Well, hey neighbor, welcome to That Witch Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today. If this is your first time at That Witch Podcast, hi and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. This is going to be a pretty damn good episode. I'm very excited for this one today. A little while back, I wanted to start doing a kind of a spread out episode series on different branches of witchcraft. So a little while ago, we did an episode on cosmic witchcraft. Are you a cosmic witch? Well, I have wanted to do the green witchcraft episode for a while now. And if you've been listening for a while, you know that my life has been super crazy. And in the several times that I tried to schedule the green witch episode, it just always was not happening. And I either had to scrap episodes completely that week, or I definitely needed to switch subjects so that it was more on par with what I was going through, or what was applicable to the shifts and adjustments, etc., etc. Lo and behold, absolutely hilarious. I moved in, my family and I moved into our new house almost a month ago. Almost. By the time you're all listening to this, it'll technically be, I don't know, just over 3 weeks, I would think. God, it feels like way longer that we've been here. Definitely feels like our home. Well, it's been a whole entire ass journey. If you're interested in listening to any of it, there are very recent episodes going into this giant journey of my family and I moving from Colorado to New Hampshire, all because we just wanted to. And the process and the journey to get here. And I talked a little bit about the state of the house and the deep cleaning that we're doing, all this stuff. So now that you're a little caught up, now what I've been doing, where I've been at now, is I finally have been able to get into the yard and the garden. And I was so excited when we bought this house because they have a couple of raised beds already built in and fenced in a little bit with some like chicken wire basically in the backyard. And they have some really nice garden beds in the front yard. I did the exact same thing with the front yard that I've done with the inside of the house, which is overestimating in all the wrong ways and underestimating in all the wrong ways. Now, I think that the people who lived here took a little bit better care of the yard. But I think that they hired somebody to do that. I think that landscapers or service may have been regularly tending to the yard. We just, because there's so much space here, we were really excited to find somebody local that owns their own service that comes and mows our lawn, which is really, really nice. And that has been so nice, being able to take those hours of time, that my husband would have to dedicate to that I can now take him into the garden with me and into those areas, which I'm really, really excited about. Well, I do think that I think that the garden beds overall were taken better care of, I think. But I think that they stopped being tended to a while ago. It's very hard for me to say how long the garden has gone totally unattended, because things in New England grow I don't even know how much more than Colorado. I don't even know how to describe it. It's so much more. Like the grass grows so much faster. The plant, like there's so much more like flora in general here, just abundant everywhere. So it's hard to say like how much faster it does grow than Colorado, but it does. So bear in mind this stuff might have been unattended for not that long. For all I know, it could have been unattended for like, I don't know, like the third, since the time they listed the house until we closed on the house. Maybe, once they listed the house, they stopped. It could have only been like 6 weeks. For all I know, could have been a few months. I have no clue. What I do know is that it, just like all the other areas of the house, it was worse than I thought when I got into it. Let's just throw that right the fuck out there. It was definitely worse than I thought it was going to be. Now, last weekend, this has been a week-long endeavor for me. We were finally good enough with the actual house organization cleaning journey fiasco that I just last weekend was able to even get into the yard at all. And so we all went in the yard, my husband, my daughter, and I. We had all these super overgrown, big, really established bushes of different varieties. There's a holly bush. The other two, I'm not going to remember their name. They're like leafy though. If that helps at all, they're like woody and leafy. They're not like juniper bushes. And then we have a really gorgeous lilac bush. And then what I thought was a very, very dead old rose bush that I thought we were going to have to dig out. Also really big lilies, I think daylilies. I'm not really positive. The names, we're going to talk about that today. I'll tell you that much. We're going to talk about that. I'm not good with plant names, and that's okay. It's okay if you're not the plant expert, okay? Don't feel like the answer to the question of this episode, are you a green witch? Don't assume that the answer is no if you're not, quote unquote, good with plants or know that much about plants, because as you will see in real time here, neither am I. I'm really, really not. But there is absolutely a calling there. There's absolutely a pull and a connection there for sure. So let's continue exploring that. So I get out into the yard. We all get it out there last weekend. It's way fucking worse than I thought. There's just so much. And there's a really invasive species out here of weed that my husband's coworker was telling me about, or coworker's wife was telling me about, that is really hard to get rid of. It's called bittersweet. It's very common in New England, she said. It's very hard to get rid of. You can't just let it go totally unmanaged because it can take fucking over and kill things. It can ruin a building. So there was a lot of bittersweet growing everywhere. We also have a maple tree in our front yard. So there's little tiny maple babies that need to get pulled. And then just your general array of jungles of weeds. And at this point, they are like, some of them are as tall as my almost 5-year-old daughter. And again, keep in mind, it rains a lot. It's been raining a fuck ton this year. And we have had some really, really hot sunny days as well. So these weeds could have just been going for several weeks and gotten to this point for all I know, because everything's growing so much. Overall, it's a lot easier to pull weeds out here, which is super awesome. It's so satisfying, like pulling weeds out of soft soil and not dead hard clay. Shout out to all of my Colorado gardeners, because we have to put in so much more and different kinds of work when you're working with the type of soil and conditions in Colorado and the altitude, all of it. But I will say out here, what I'm learning, some of the very unique and different challenges to areas like this where things just fucking grow and the soil is so fertile like this, you have to stay on top of shit. Things grow out of control way faster and easier than you would think at all, being from my native climate. So we're pulling out the weeds. We're doing great. We're making lots of progress. I do this all week long. I get my daughter out there. We've been just clearing as much as we can. There's this one garden bed, and I actually posted a picture of it in that witch school to show everybody. There's the final garden bed, and I never, ever, ever save the worst for last. I always do worst first, and save the best for last, of course. In all of my chores and all of my duties, it's always the best. I do that for laundry loads. I do that for everything. When I like shopping at the grocery store, I go to the store that I don't like. When I'm running errands, I go to the store that I don't like the most first. I mean, unless you can't perfectly drive that route. But I'm a worst first gal. Save the best for last. Always get easier. Well, on accident, I was underestimating. I thought this last bed, the grass had been so overgrown. It's like 3 foot tall grass. It was so overgrown and like matted down that I thought it was like really tall grass that was like laying down. I thought that like my daughter and my husband had been matting it down because he had been in that bed cutting some bushes back. She was in there digging for worms and stuff. So I thought it was from them matting it down. I thought it was just a big patch of overgrown grass along the garden bed wall, basically the little divider that had gotten laid down and matted down. Incorrect. It was just straight up grass that had seeded itself and overgrown into the garden bed for so long and so efficiently that it fused roots with all of the other weeds, like the bittersweet and the dandelions and everything. And I know I love dandelions too, but I need you to understand that in this situation, we needed to clear everything. Like there was too much. And I have no idea if that garden bed, if can be used for anything edible, by the way. So I have no idea if the weed control in that garden bed has been chemicals its entire life. I don't know. There's no way for me to know. So I wasn't planning on being able to use or consume anything from the front garden beds anyways. So don't come at me with your dandelion. I know all about dandelions. I used to co-own a herbal shop. I know all about the dandelion thing, and I love dandelion. And if you can safely consume your own dandelion in your own yard, you absolutely should. Or if you can safely and ethically forage for it, you absolutely should. It's amazing stuff. But the dandelions, all the other weeds, the bittersweet, the grass, all the roots fuse and grow together in this entire garden bed. The entire garden bed, okay? And I am like a professional carpet remover now because that's exactly what it is. I'm having to dig up and pull out like patch for patch, like go square foot by square foot, pulling this shit up. It's been like some of the most labor intensive yard work I've had to do in years. Oh my God. So incredibly worth it though. And I can just get lost in it for hours. This is green magic. So I don't know the names of all these things. I'm just using like a fucking shovel and that 3-prong. See, I don't even know the name of the tool. It's like a 3-prong spiky thing on the back end of a hoe. And I'm like jabbing it into the ground and twisting it to break up the roots. And I don't know. I've got $5 pair of gardening gloves and a fucking $10 pair of rubber boots from Tractor Supply, my goddamn sun hat, and I'm just out there in the dirt. I don't know what the pH level of the soil needs to be or how to test it. I don't know, like, really which of the plants should be in the full sun and which should not. Like, I don't know this stuff. I don't know. I'm a green witch. It's okay. I think one of my biggest, if not my biggest intention for this episode is to get as many people as possible just excited about this and inspired to lean into and tap into their inner green witch, because it is so not even, it should just not be gatekeeped at all, at all, at all, at all, at all. It should be the most open practice there is. I'm serious. If you fucking gatekeep anything about growing plants or tending to plants or anything, any kind of green witchcraft, from this super general point of view, fuck off. I'm dead serious. Do not do that. If there's one thing that, again, I co-owned an herbal metaphysical apothecary. I delved into the plant world plenty, and there are some serious fucking snobs out there. And there are so many people that make you feel like you're never, ever, ever going to be good enough. And that you certainly can't call yourself like a green witch. And it's just not even true when it comes to green witchcraft. Not at all. I'm not saying that if you practice green witchcraft, you should call yourself like a plant doctor. I don't fucking know. Like, I'm not trying to say you should also like say you're more of an expert than you are. But I will say that this is one of the most beginner-friendly, all-inclusive, open to fucking everybody forms of magic and witchcraft, okay? And everybody should do it. I'm serious. You are, and I rarely make blanket statements, but you are an earth being. Even if you don't have a lot of earth in your chart, even if you don't feel that connected to the earth element, that's too bad. You're an earth being. You chose earth in this life. You're a human being. We are of earth, the most. So, earth, no matter what, is always, always going to be and feel very grounding. Here's the caveat to that. Not every single type of grounding activity or earth-related activity has the same effect on every person. You got to find your own way. You got to find your own vibe. And so that's probably going to serve you the best in this journey, okay? Is being open and flexible with yourself and, God damn it, getting creative. You don't have to do the gardener thing that I'm doing. I am identifying hardcore as fuck with the gardener archetype lately. My green witch, my green magic is like fucking, that banner is flowing proudly in the wind lately. Like I really I am in my gardener archetype right now. That doesn't have to be you. That doesn't have to be you at all. Green magic could look totally fucking different. Totally and completely fucking different. For me, one thing my experience at the house is really teaching me is that I am very hands-on when it comes to my green witchcraft. Like, I really, really benefit from the work itself, tending to something, digging something up, sweating, feeling the heat of the sun on your back, like finding the worms and the beetles, like, and the sounds. Like, it's so grounding because it is such an immersive experience for me. And honestly, my Pisces moon ADHD ass fucking Gemini retrograde Mars needs that so badly. It is so goddamn therapeutic and medicinal for me to hyperfixate into such a grounding activity like that. Oh my God. It's been like, I can't even describe. But that in and of itself is the pure essence of green magic, okay? Like, me making that huge connection for myself, like, oh, this is so This is like straight up treatment for me, my body, my energy, my soul. When I let my neurodivergent self just hyper fixate into such a grounding, immersive activity, the healing that takes place. Me getting to that realization, me getting to that big moment of clarity, that, my friends, is a pure, in real time example of green magic. That's all it is. Now, that's why it doesn't have to be gardening or whatever that does it for you. It could be literally, it could be just a certain type of flower. There could be this certain flower or this certain plant species that you don't know what it is, but it just calls to you. Or maybe you know exactly what it is. Maybe it has a very, very deep, meaningful connection for you. Maybe it connects you to a loved one or generations past, or a part of your history or part of your culture, part of you and your identity. Just the image of that plant or that flower, image of that flora, wearing it, putting it on something, using it as a picture somewhere on your phone or your device, or getting that tattooed on you, decorating your home with that in its fresh form or in just prints of it on fabric like curtains or couches or pillows or whatever. All of that. Guess what that is? Green witchcraft. And this is where I'm going to protect all of you from the plant snobs here in the neighborhood. Not like we have the plant snobs that approach the neighborhood. Because I don't care. You don't have to be physically growing something. And you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to know how to propagate. You don't have to know how to prune something. It's fine. The connection to the energy of that plant, that thing growing on earth, that and whatever it does to you, however it lights you up inside, whatever it represents, symbolizes, means to you, that is your green magic. I promise you this. Because this is earth energy calling us. And we each connect with it, and we get to connect with it in a totally different way than each other. It doesn't have to be the same way. And if you do happen to find community in however you practice green magic or any kind of witchcraft, awesome, fucking amazing. I love that. And I'm going to celebrate you. And it's okay if you practice it in a very individual, solitary, unique, eclectic ass way. That's what I just really want you to know, that it doesn't have to look like how anybody else is doing it. It doesn't. It can be super, super, super unique to you. It is just connecting with earth energy. Now, when we look at green witchcraft and maybe want to approach it from an astrological point of view, obviously, where are we going to go first, my friends? The earth signs, of course. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. We can also look at their ruling planets, which is really, really interesting because Taurus and Capricorn are ruled by earth planets. Virgo is ruled by air planet. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Virgo being ruled by Mercury, I actually still really love this for green magic, because air is so much a part. I mean, really, like we have all four elementals so strongly present in green witchcraft. We've got the plant and the soil, right? We've got earth. So easy, right? There's the earth. The air exchange is so important. The plants consuming CO2 and releasing oxygen. This is one of the most sacred, profound, and important parts of our fucking literal existence and life. Our life and their life depends on each other, you guys. How cute is that? So adorable. We love each other. We depend on each other. So there's your air, the air exchange. Fire, hello, sun, and photosynthesis. We all need the sun. We all need that fire, life-giving energy, that heat and warmth and fuel. And of course, we all need to be way more fucking hydrated than we are, probably. We all need our water. Us, the plants, water brings it all together. This is why this is such a common branch of magic. This is why this is like the bandwagon to jump on, and never, ever, ever give anybody shit for jumping on this trend. I want green magic and green witchcraft to be as trendy as possible, because it makes sense why all of us as humans feel so connected to that kind of magic, and why it's so nourishing for us, and why in turn it's so nourishing for the plants themselves as well. It's so beautiful. I could go on and on and on about the meaning. There are, I would also say, like, from an astrological point of view, yes, the earth signs are associated with plant magic, because of their earth basis. So you can work with plants under specific earth transits, when different placements or planets go into those earth signs, for example. You can work with their ruling planets. And that kind of brings me to Venus, I would say, which is probably my front runner from an astrological Venus and Ceres. But not everybody works with the asteroids. So as far as major planet goes, I would say Venus is kind of my personal front runner for awesome, my top recommended planet or placement I would recommend you work with, to tap into your inner green witch. If you do work with the asteroids, though, Ceres would be straight up literally tied with Venus, possibly even edging Venus out just a bit, because Ceres, as a goddess in Roman and in Greek mythology, this is Demeter, by the way. So as a goddess, Ceres is associated with the harvest, and abundance of the earth. So Ceres is incredible deity to work with, and placement to work with, or dedicate your green magic to. So I wanted to make sure to give everybody a little bit of a place to head to in your chart if you're kind of looking to explore green magic from that facet. I will say it's hard to go at it from that approach. It's easier to go at green magic head on in whatever way it's calling you, and then incorporate astrology, if that makes sense. And then dedicate things to certain signs, or doing certain rituals or tasks under certain transits, like I said, or a sign that the moon is in, when the moon is in an earth sign or whatever. That might be an easier, more intuitive way to incorporate astrology into your green witchcraft, rather than trying to approach green witchcraft through cosmic witchcraft. It's easier to approach green magic through green magic than incorporate the cosmos with it, because it is all connected. It does all beautifully, beautifully connect. Absolutely. Now, speaking of deities and beings, there are so many. I'm not even going to try to list them. I'm going to be honest with you. They're a stupid amount, because, again, we're earth beings. Throughout cultures, throughout all of history, throughout the entire world, there are a fuck ton of earth beings. deities, okay, and earth deities. It would be much more effective and simple for me to tell you instead to research that for yourself, specifically in whatever area you're already called to. So again, from your specific culture, from your specific ideology, through your specific mythology that you already work with, that would be much, much faster anyways and more efficient. So if you already work with the Greek pantheon, go look up Greek creatures or Greek beings or Greek deities, however you want to search that, associated with the earth. Okay, or associated with plants or associated with flowers. Okay, you can go kind of type that in. But again, pair that up with your already like area of study, what you're already brought up in, what you're already taught, what you're already studying, and then add that terminology with like earth beings or earth creatures or earth deities, earth gods and goddesses, whatever. That is going to get you to where you're going a lot faster than I ever possibly could trying to list them out. So here's what I want to say. Do research it. Yes, do that. It's a good idea. And I really want to encourage you to explore for yourself. A lot of us approach green magic from a very cerebral approach first and a very academic approach first. And I totally get that. It's totally valid and it can be very helpful. I myself, I'm a YouTuber, I'm going to go watch a lot of videos on YouTube before I just tackle like growing raspberries. I really want to know how the fuck I need to do that. If you've ever bought raspberries to plant, by the way, they look very, very different than other plants that you might transplant. A lot of times you can just get the root. So again, I got that root and was like, okay, I need to learn a little about this. So yes, I'm going to approach this from an educational standpoint first. Absolutely. And when it comes to connecting with earth spirits and earth deities, it can be potentially much more effective to be just approaching this again from a much more active, like while you're doing the damn thing itself. So while you're working with the plants, while you're in the dirt, while you're working with that special flower or plant, like we talked about, that whatever way that green magic comes to you, when you're in that space, try opening yourself up to the spirits that you're already working with in that moment and start to get to know them that way. So often we think that we need to be an expert first. But if you know your energy basics, grounding and cleansing and protecting your energy, and you practice that, then you know that it's totally safe to open up and just ask, what are the spirits that I'm working with? Come forth. You know that you're protecting yourself against anything negative or malignant. And I promise you, that's not inherent in green magic. And that's a whole different episode, by the way. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. But I want you to remember that it's not the way that we've been taught that it is for so long, that when we open ourselves up, automatically all these bad things get invited into us just because we opened up. No, that's the Hollywood way. That's not the witch's way. We know that we can ground, cleanse, protect our energy from all energetic interference at any time, always. And that you get to decide what your energetic filter is. So you do get to open up yourself to the spirits that you're working with in that moment, whether it's spirits like ghosts or plant spirits or these different beings, and open yourself up and work with them and ask them questions and receive downloads from them in the moment. And then again, after that, you ground, you cleanse, and protect and close out your energy again. It's very safe practice to do this. And it can be a lot more effective to do this all on your own instead of only relying on the internet. We have this really beautiful gift of technology for our generation that our ancestors that were witches and magic makers and of all kinds that stem from those terms. We know that they would, of course, see the magic that can come from and does come from technology and how it helps us and how we can utilize it. I am definitely not one that demonizes technology around here. And I will say, we can get a little lost in it. We can get a little too heavily reliant on it. And in one way that our ancestors were able to strengthen their own intuition and their own connection and relationship to these beings and to these spirits so much more effectively is because they were just doing it. They would learn about it from the elders and the storytellers and the people in the villages and the communities. Of course, they would learn about it. It's not to say that the academic approach was gone. There was learning, but there was so much more practice. There was so much more real-time physical integration, practicing this information and working with these spirits. That is the most effective way to learn how these beings and spirits behave. Because again, you could work with those spirits one time if that's all you wanted to do. Was just get to know them. It doesn't have to be a regular gig. I think a lot of people think they have to open up and devote their lives in a section of their house to a spirit or a creature or a being or a god or a goddess if they work with it a few times. No, you don't. No, you don't. It can be just like any other relationship. Look at Venus. Venus shows us our relationships. This is an Earth planet that illustrates the nature of relationships. Some are very lifelong and long-term. Some are seasonal. And the same can go for our ethereal relationships as well. Don't forget that. Okay? That's that programming in us that we were programmed and bred to believe that we have to mate for life when it comes to everything. Every single relationship, which is so unrealistic and so not true. Not every relationship calls for that, needs that, or should be that at all. And the same thing can go for working with your spiritual relationships as well. So yes, do your research on green magic, earth spirits, earth beings, do that. And get into the dirt. Or get into the earth element, or just start working directly with those spirits and start practicing yourself. Green magic is just, it can be used for any and all intentions. So much of the acts of tending to plants connect to so many different areas of our lives. The seeds starting in the dark, in the ground, just like we begin in the dark in the womb. Just like the concept of shadow work, of death and rebirth. The plant growing itself, how it's rooted, how it finds the light, it grows. Abundance. There's lots and lots of themes of abundance in green witchcraft. Obviously, there's the working very hard and dedicating yourself to a goal and then getting to literally harvest the rewards of all of that work. Pulling weeds and these themes of release and having to let go of things, and that we can remove our own blockages and create more clarity for ourselves. There are so many themes. I could go on and on and on, the different connections that you can make to the different intentions that you can have, and invoke those and act those out through your green witchcraft. It is an incredible modality for witchcraft, ritual work, and spell work. And then as far as kind of tools and things go, they kind of go hand in hand, and it's intuitive for most people, but I figured I should still mention it. But crystals and plants love each other. They really do. They just go hand in hand, two peas in a pod. I love putting crystals in with my plants and letting them kind of pair together. Remember that concept of relationships. Sometimes you'll notice that a crystal and a plant have this special bond and they're always together. Sometimes you might find that their season has ended and they are moving on from each other. The same goes for where plants are located in your house or in your garden. If it's time to end a plant's life, if that's one you don't want to grow anymore, you can gift that away, or sometimes you allow a plant in your garden to die. If you don't want to grow that variety of tomato anymore, that's okay. There's more, you know what I mean? Like, there are so many beautiful lessons there. And so, let yourself be fluid and flexible. This is Earth after all, even though Earth we associate with some of that rigidity because of the grounded aspect. There is growth when it comes to Earth. There is this flowing adaptation as well. And so you can let yourself swap crystals around, swap where plants are, play around with different tools. Sometimes I will kind of make somewhat of a little shrine or like mini altar centered around a certain plant. And so I use certain talismans or items or tools and pair them and keep them around that plant specifically. You can also dedicate certain tools to certain plants, like certain gardening tools, for example, which also brings me to, you can cleanse and charge and consecrate and bless any of your plant tools as well, your gardening tools, your shovels, your gloves, your hats, all of those things. You don't need that many tools. And the more simple, the better sometimes when it comes to green magic, I will say, because so much of the magic that takes place is just in and of the connection happening between you and the plant. But one of the most simple things is just using your body, using your hands or using your feet, placing them in the dirt, placing them in the grass, holding fresh flowers, working with dried flowers, working with dried plants, really using your body to get hands on. That's some of those are some of the most effective tools that you can use here. Experiment using fresh things and dried things. Again, you don't always have to be the plant mommy or the plant daddy. It's okay if you're working with dried plants. If it's not realistic for you to keep plants in your home, if you really just don't enjoy growing and keeping live plants, or again, if it's just not realistic for your living situation, whatever that may be, that's okay. You still get to be a green witch. You still get to practice green witchcraft. That's a really big one. And if that is the case for you, here's my suggestion. Go be around them. Go to a local garden or botanical garden if you have one in your community. You can just go to a flower shop. You can go to the flower section at the local farmer's market or a grocery store. Go to a park. Go be next to a tree. You can just go be around a plant. It doesn't have to belong to you. You don't have to be responsible for its life to go and connect with it. You don't have to have a green thumb. Okay? There are people that get excessive. I've definitely seen examples where people get excessive and they're definitely not very good at keeping plants, but they want to be. And then they go spend a bunch of money on a bunch of plants and they don't really commit to it. And those plants die. I've even known people to do that more than once. That's a pretty unique situation. And yes, I would classify that as being wasteful. I would say just be mindful and intentional and ethical. And when you're learning, less is always more. And you can always add on if you really do want to practice growing something and you're worried that you'll kill it. Just start small. Smart. Start with less. You don't have to, there's no race. There's nothing, you know what I mean? You're setting that expectation for yourself so you can lower it very, very just as easily for yourself. Be intentional. And again, if you don't want to go that route at all, you can practice green magic just by being around plants, just by giving them respect when you see them and when you're in nature, just by advocating for them in your own actions. All of those things are green witchcraft. I'm going to leave us, my final thought that I want to give you to chew on is environmentalism. I am of the belief that it's our responsibility to take care of the earth because it's the earth's responsibility to take care of us. We should do both of those things. It's the exact same as we were talking about in the episode recently about cleansing and house magic. And, your house takes care of you. You should take care of it. And I very much believe that about the earth. I also, just from a very super realistic, very transparent point of view, or position, I am a person that struggles very much every single day with anxiety. And I am somebody that will get swept away in the burden of environmentalism. And I will put it on my shoulders to save the earth. And I will shame the fuck out of myself for anything outside of perfect adherence to how much I care about the earth. And we can really, really get wrapped up in that. There is a lot of pressures, even pressures we agree with. Okay, again, I very much am an environmentalist. I give a big fuck about the earth and taking care of it. I do. And the reality of our psychology is that when we are constantly seeing alarming headlines and marketing and advertising about how much of our responsibility the earth is, and we need to be, and we see these horrifying images of landfills and things being dumped into the sea, I know we need to see those things and I know we need to take it seriously. I very much agree with that. And I am a person who also knows how opposite it's not going to be helpful at all. I know how detrimental it can be to get wrapped up in the straight up self-hatred that you can get lost in by not being perfect. Even using a plastic bag, using a plastic straw, it's so, I'm serious. It's so easy to get really, really swept up and spun down that spiraling rabbit hole and take on personally the burden of responsibility of the entire earth on your shoulders. And it's not. It is and always will be a collective responsibility. It is everybody's job to do their job. I just wanted to remind everybody that because a big part of green magic is working with Earth's energy and giving a fuck about the earth and plants. And that's going to inevitably start all of us down this path. And I'm glad that it does, because these things need to be discussed and we need to examine them within ourselves. We need to sift through these personal ethics of our own. And I just wanted, because I've done that very much through my own green witchcraft, I want to offer what I have learned and what I've had to work through, which is I promise to do my part. And I promise to do it as best as I can, to the capabilities and abilities of myself and my family, my household, my situation, etc. And that goes for everybody. All of Earth is not my job. All of Earth is not one group of people's job. It's everybody's job, always. And you can only do as much as you can do. And one of the best things you can do beyond that is continue, when you do take care of the earth and when you do your green magic, is to send out and to really, really intensify your intentions to help ripple out the effects of your green magic and your green witchcraft in that moment, so that it does pour out into the collective. The more of us doing that, certainly not going to hurt anything, I'll tell you that much. I don't know that it's going to fix everything, but certainly not going to hurt anything. So just wanted to leave you with that. I could go on for hours and hours and hours about this work. I really, really, truly could. But what I'm going to leave you with is, this is a natural and extremely common practice and branch of magic for a reason. If it's calling you, let it call you. Answer the call in whatever unique way it's calling to you. You don't have to have a green thumb. You don't have to know that much about plants. You don't have to be, quote unquote, good at keeping them alive to work with green magic, to work with green witchcraft. And I will tell you one last thing, which is the rose bush in the garden. Not only was it not dead, I decided on a day that I stayed out there longer than my husband and my daughter, and I was just kind of losing myself in the dirt and in the work. It was really nice. He had told me, I'll cut back the rose bush next week when we come out here. And I was just really in the flow of it. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm feeling really good out here. I'm just going to cut it back myself, because our friend had pointed out to us that at the very, very bottom core center, once you look past all the dead branches, it was growing. And so I took the shears that we got and I hacked the fuck away at that thing. And I chopped up this huge rose bush and I saved all of the dead rose bush branches that we're going to use in our fire pit. And I got it to its very core center. And this was a very powerful experience for me. And I hadn't been expecting it in that moment. But I had never felt more connected to my grandmother, who died when I was 14. I mean, this was one of the closest I could just feel her stronger than ever in me, part of me, right there with me. And I associate roses with her very, 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 very much. And, I was hoping that if we cut it back and were really, really nice to the rose bush, that maybe it would bloom and we'd get roses next year. And I'm so happy to be able to say, by the time I've recorded this, because I cut it a week ago, that it's blooming. There's been like 4 beautiful, dainty little pink roses that bloomed from it since I was able to cut it back and get it some sunshine. So I love this work. I love this part of the craft. Everybody should work with it. And I can't wait to hear how you work with it. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me at all if you have any questions that came up to you while you were listening to this episode. I hope that this inspires you to connect with plants and know that you don't have to be the expert or whatever. You don't have to be anything. You just have to be you, and it just has to be your green magic. I'm so excited for you. I'm here next door if you need anything, and I can't wait to talk to you this week. If you have any questions about that super, super awesome past life regression we are doing as a group for full-time students in that witch school that we talked about on Moon Day Musings yesterday, don't hesitate to reach out to me for that. You can also just enroll by going to the show notes below or thatwitchnextdoor.com/enroll. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your week. I hope that you stay safe. You let yourself have some fun and stay magical out there. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed That Witch podcast today, I would be super, super grateful if you would take a moment to head over to Apple or Spotify and leave a rating and review. It really helps to support the show. Or if you just have a friend that you think would enjoy what we're doing, what we're talking about here, you can just share the show with them as well. Now, if you yourself like what you're doing here and you want to get more into the magic of the neighborhood, I highly recommend checking out my monthly membership, That Witch School. It's kind of like a witchier, more interactive style of Patreon subscription where you can enroll at a tier level that fits your lifestyle and budget. You can get instant access to all of the bonus content that we've already done, as well as all of the future amazing to come bonus content that we'll be doing in the future together. There's exercises for strengthening your intuition. There are loads of resources for studying astrology and learning your birth chart. We've got guest workshops, bonus episodes, exclusive discounts, and so much more. My full-time students also get exclusive access to Mighty Networks, our private online community platform, which is basically like a way better and way more magical social media platform with a bunch of really cool people like you that just want to learn from and support one another on this witchy spiritual journey. If this sounds like something that you would really enjoy, head over to thatwitchnextdoor.com/enroll and explore the tier level of that witch school that would fit you today. Now, if you have any questions after the episode today, any inquiries, show suggestions, anything you'd like to share with me, you can head over to thatwitchnextdoor.com/conjurethatwitch. Remember, I'm just always right next door. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next episode.